Okay, in this video, I just want to show how arrays work, kind of show you how the for each statement works, and then just show you some of the issues or problems you can have with arrays. Now here is a program, I just called it syntax error example because I'm going to show a syntax error in the future. This, right now, the way it's set up, it will work. Let me try to make it a little bigger because some people are saying they were having trouble with seeing the program. Here it is, and I just did a simple main. I have an integer I call summation. It's just the sum of the numbers in the array. And here's my array. The array name is numbers. Right here I can see it's an array of integers. And recall, with arrays, I can only have one type. I can only have integers. I can only have strings. I can't mix strings and integers. I can't mix integers and floats. I can't mix floats and doubles. Whatever it is, it's what it is for the whole time. So here's my array. And I've already initialized my array. So here are all the elements. At index 0, I have 1. Index 1, I have 2. So on and so forth. So index 9 is set to 10. So here's my numbers, 1 through 10. So to begin, I start by calling the info class and creating my info, which is an object. Info right here is the constructor. I'm using the default constructor. Here's my keyword new saying I'm creating an object called my info. And then I'm going to display all my information, my name, the course, the date, and the assignment number. Syntax error example will be the assignment name. Now here's the for each. And the way the for each works is it starts with the first element in the array, and the array is numbers, so numbers at both of them, and it takes the first element and puts it into the variable val. Now, because it puts it into the variable val, val has to be of the same type that the array is. Val is an integer, my array is full of integers. If my array were full of strings, val would have to be a string. So the first time through, val is set to 1. I then say console write val, which is 1, and then put a space between it. And then it goes back and takes a second. Val becomes 2. Console write 2, space between. And it keeps going till it gets to the end of the array. At the end of the array, it's 10. Console write 10, space, and there's no more in the array. It goes on. So for each, I don't have to initialize val to a specific value. I don't have to say how long the array is. For each does it automatically for me. Now in summation, it says calculate the sum. I'm calling a method. I'm passing numbers. What is numbers? Numbers is an array. So I can pass arrays, and that's what I'm doing here. I'm passing the array, and whatever comes back from calculate sum, I'm going to put into the variable summation. So right here is calculate sum. Here, it's static. I'm not creating a object for it. I'm returning an integer, the summation. Here's the name, calculate sum, calculate sum. And here is my array that I pass. Remember, I have to declare what I'm passing. Here I called it numbers. Here I'm just calling it array values. But it's an integer of arrays. So I pass, and when I pass an array, I pass the address of the array. So it's passed by address. So here I have a variable called total. Total equals 0. Total is a local variable to calculate sum. And then I go from index equals 0, index less than array values, dot length. Length is a property. One of the things I should mention, arrays are objects. Arrays are objects. So is an integer. An integer is an object. String is an object. Arrays are objects. What does an object mean? It means it has methods and it has properties. Length is a property. What does length give me? Well, when I do dot length, it goes out and says, how big is the array? How many elements do I have in this array? Bring it back. And that's what it does. And in this array, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 elements. So it goes from index is equals 0 to index less than 10. And of course, I increment the index. And all I'm doing is taking array value 0, 1, 2, 3, and I'm adding it to the total. So I'm adding all the numbers in the array together, and I'm returning the total. So now what I'm doing is I'm coming back with the summation, and then I'm just printing out the total. So I'm saying the total of the numbers is, and putting the summation right here. So let's run this. Here it is, my name, all the stuff in the info. Here's my 1 through 10 that I print out, and the total of numbers is 55. That's what I wanted to see. So let's just do a little breakpoint here. And if you want, you can learn more about the debugger in the book. I'm just trying to find out the chapter. Chapter 12 talks about the debugger in Visual Studio. The first part of chapter 12, it begins on, at least in my book, it begins on page 785. And if you read, let's see, 785 to about okay, 785 to about 800. They'll tell you how the debugger in Visual Studio works. So 785 to 800 if you want to know how the debugger works. So here I set a breakpoint. I'm going to start my program. Boom, I stopped right at the foreach. And if you look down here, it's as far as I got. I haven't put out the numbers yet. And so now I'm going to just kind of step through the foreach. Right now, val is not set to anything, so let's walk through it. So it's got the numbers, it's putting it into val. And if I look at val right now, val is set to 1. Yep, first one. And numbers is an array 1 through 10. So that looks good. So I'll go back. Val is now set. Val is set to 2. Everything looks good. Keep going. Val is set to 3. So here just kind of shows you the for each. It just goes through each one of the elements one at a time, starting with the element at index 0, going to the end of the array. Anything else I want to show here? Let's see what we can see if we just pass the array. So let me put another breakpoint right here. And we'll continue. Okay, we hit that one. Now, I'm just going to do an F11 to walk through it. And there, it just shows me I sent the array. I actually sent the address. I was trying to see if I could see a way to show that the address went, but there isn't really a way to show it. So, there's my array. And I'm going to go and do the same thing here, where I'm just going to total them up. And I can step through this the same way. There's index 3, total is 6, so on and so forth. And I'll just continue. So that's a simple thing with arrays. Let me just stop the program by hitting enter. And let me remove all the breakpoints. One of the biggest errors in using arrays is going too far. So instead of just saying less than the array value, let me say less than or equals to the array value. And let's see what happens. Let me start the program up. It gives me that, boom. As soon as it hits it, I get an index out of range exception. What that basically said was, I tried to use element 11. There is no element 11. There's only 10. This is 1 through 10, 0 through 9. Right now, if I look at the index is set to 10. Well, there is no 10. The highest index is 0. So I went too far because I said also equals to. And that's when you want to make sure you don't go farther than your array values. You don't ever want to say equals to the length, because the length is always one more than the index value. So here, index out of range. Yep, I went too high, and it gave me an error. Okay, so that's just kind of a quick summation of arrays. Hope you understand it. Any questions, put them on the discussion board or bring them to class next week. Thank you.